Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? This time we're heading to Mars.
Mars. Always exciting.
But we're not talking about the usual how to get there stuff.
Mm-mm.
We're thinking about what it would actually be like to live there. Build a whole society on a completely different planet.
Right, like what would everyday life be like? The stuff most people don't really consider.
Exactly. And a great way to get us thinking about this is the National Geographic series, Mars.
Oh, yeah, that show is really interesting.
It explores a lot of these what-ifs. Like something as basic as timekeeping would be completely different.
Yeah, a Martian day is longer than an Earth day, right?
Yeah, they call it a sol, and it's
Yes.
almost 3% longer.
I remember reading that some of the scientists working with the Mars rovers actually live on Mars time here on Earth.
Really? To stay in sync with the rovers?
Yeah. Some even wear watches that run slower to match the Martian day.
Wow. Well, I
Yeah.
guess if you're going to do it, go all in, right? But for actual colonists, it wouldn't just be scientists. Imagine families, businesses, everyone living on a totally different clock.
I wonder if they'd try to keep Earth time.
That would be like permanent jet lag.
Or maybe they'd fully embrace Martian time. Create their own calendars, their own holidays. I mean, can you imagine?
A whole new culture, a whole new way of life built around Martian time. That's wild.
They'd probably even feel time differently psychologically, I mean.
It makes you wonder how it would change them living in that kind of environment.
Hmm.
So then we have to think about law. Whose rules would even apply on Mars?
Well, there's the Outer Space Treaty that most countries signed. It says no nation can claim ownership of a celestial body.
So Mars is like international waters.
Kind of, but it gets more complicated. The treaty doesn't really say anything about individual people living on Mars.
So hypothetically, someone could just,
Set up their own Martian empire.
huh, Emperor of Mars, why not?
I mean, how would you even enforce Earth laws millions of miles away? Can you imagine?
It would be a nightmare. The court will now hear testimony from the witness in 40 minutes once the signal gets back from Mars.
Exactly. That's where the whole idea of extraterrestrial liberty comes in, basically allowing Martians to govern themselves.
So you'd have Martian law, Martian courts, maybe even.
Martian
This
elections.
is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But what kind of legal system would even work on Mars?
Right. Would they try to adapt Earth-based laws or come up with something completely new?
There would be so many unique challenges.
Yeah.
Stuff we haven't even thought about.
Absolutely. Resource management, the psychological effects of isolation,
What?
all kinds of uncharted legal territory.
Okay, get this. Ready for this. You are already touching Mars.
What?
Seriously, hear me out. Space dust falls to Earth all the time, right?
Right.
And some of that dust is from Mars.
Oh, you mean like
It's in the soil, it's in the air we breathe, it's even in our bodies. Like billions of atoms in your body probably came from Mars.
so in a way.
We are all a little bit Martian, but of course it goes the other way too.
Right.
We're sending stuff to Mars with our probes and rovers. And that brings up this whole issue of planetary protection.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Like, remember when the Apollo astronauts came back from the moon and they had to be quarantined?
Yeah.
Well, with Mars, it's even more important. We were pretty sure the moon was barren. But with Mars,
There's still that chance.
right, that there could be some kind of Martian life, even if it's just microbes.
And we wouldn't want to contaminate it with Earth bacteria
Or
or
bring back something that could harm Earth. So NASA has this whole office dedicated to planetary protection.
so they're like the
Cosmic cleanup crew, making sure we don't mess things up.
haha. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And they use all sorts of methods to assess the risk of contamination, like what was it called?
The Coleman-Shon equation. It's a way to estimate the probability of it.
Right, of messing things up. But seriously, it's about finding that balance between exploring Mars, but also preserving it.
It's a delicate balance.
And speaking of Martian life, remember that meteorite they found in Antarctica?
ALH 84001.
Yeah, the one that caused all the excitement because they
Oh,
thought it had.
Microscopic fossils.
Can you imagine if we found proof of ancient Martian life?
It would be incredible.
And remember when they found that meteorite? It was 1996, and even President Clinton gave a speech about it.
Yeah, about how it could be evidence of past life on Mars, a huge discovery.
I bet the press conference was wild. All the reporters asking about the scientific implications, the search for extraterrestrial life.
Actually, the first two questions he got were about something completely different.
Really? Like what?
One was about some political controversy going on at the time, and the other one was about his tie.
You're kidding.
Nope. It just shows you, even when we're talking about potential alien life,
Sometimes everyday stuff just takes over.
human nature, I guess.
It's kind of funny, but also a little sad. Like we're on the verge of something truly amazing,
Yeah.
and we get sidetracked.
It's a good reminder to keep things in perspective.
Totally.
Hmm.
So we might not have definitive proof of Martian life yet, but the possibility is still there. And as we get closer to sending humans to Mars,
It raises some serious ethical questions.
right, especially if you start thinking about colonization. Like, what if there is microbial life on Mars, even just clinging to survival?
What responsibility do we have to protect it? Should we even be going to Mars if it means we might disrupt a Martian ecosystem?
Big questions, no easy answers.
Yeah,
It's like,
I agree.
we have this drive to explore, right, to push the
Mhm.
boundaries, but at the same time, we have to be careful.
We have a responsibility to be good stewards of the universe, really.
It's a tricky balancing act, and the stakes are incredibly high.
Mhm.
So where do we even go from here?
Hmm.
How do we figure out what it means to be a responsible spacefaring species?
That is the question, isn't it? Yeah, it really is the question, isn't it? It's a question that a lot of people have a lot of different ideas about.
Yeah, there's no simple answers there.
Not at all.
So let's try to sort of break down these different viewpoints.
Yep.
We were talking about being responsible, right?
Right.
Well, there's a whole group of people who believe in this idea of planetary protection.
Oh, yeah. They basically think we should, tread very lightly on Mars.
Yeah, like don't touch anything.
Basically.
Like a cosmic leave no trace.
Exactly. And, their biggest concern is contamination.
Right. We were talking about that before.
If we accidentally introduce Earth life to Mars,
Even microbes.
it could be devastating to any Martian life that might be there.
Yeah, but we wouldn't want to wipe out, the only other life we've ever found.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so that's one perspective. But then there are people who think we should actually help Martian life to thrive.
Yeah, like give it a boost.
Is that even possible?
Well, there's this concept called directed panspermia.
Directed panspermia.
Yeah, it's the idea that if we find Martian life that's struggling,
Like maybe just remnants of what used to be there.
right, like a dying ecosystem,
And we could use our technology to kind of,
to bring it back to life.
wow, that's pretty intense.
It is, yeah, it's a really fascinating idea.
But wouldn't that be like playing God a little bit?
Yeah, some people definitely think so.
Like who are we to decide the fate of another planet's life?
It's a really tricky ethical question.
It's like, do we help or do we harm? It's hard to know.
Exactly.
So we've got the protectors and then we've got the helpers.
Right.
But then there's the third group,
Oh, yeah.
the ones who are all about expanding humanity out into the stars.
They're sometimes called the Mars to Stay crowd.
I see.
They basically believe that humanity needs to become a multiplanetary species.
Like for the sake of survival,
Exactly. If something catastrophic were to happen to Earth,
we'd have a backup.
a backup planet, exactly.
And they see Mars as that,
The new frontier.
the new frontier.
Yeah.
And, they're focused on making Mars habitable for humans,
Terraforming.
even if it means, altering the Martian environment.
Right.
But what about the potential impact on Martian life?
Yeah, that's where things get really controversial.
Because wouldn't that be putting human life above Martian life?
Well, some people would say that yes.
Like humans are more important?
It's a very anthropocentric viewpoint.
Anthropocentric.
Yeah, human-centered.
But others might say it's not about, valuing one form of life over another.
Right. It's more about seeing Mars as a solution to Earth's problems.
Like overpopulation and climate change and resource depletion
Yeah, they see Mars as this kind of blank slate.
that we can shape to our needs.
Right. A fresh start.
But Mars isn't really a blank slate, is it?
No, it has its own history, its own geology, and potentially its own life, even if it's just microbes.
So it's not ours to just take over.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole debate so complex.
Yeah, it's like we have this desire to explore, to push the boundaries.
Right.
But at the same time, we have to be aware of the potential consequences.
We have to consider the ethical implications of our actions.
Right. It's not just about science and technology.
It's about philosophy and ethics.
It's about who we are as a species. So where do you stand on all of this?
Yo.
Yeah, you've dedicated your life to studying Mars.
Yeah.
You must have some thoughts on all of this.
Well, it's easy to get caught up in trying to find the one right answer.
Yeah.
But I think the real challenge and the real value lies in embracing the complexity, in recognizing that there are multiple valid perspectives.
So it's not about finding the answer.
It's about the conversation.
About having an open and honest conversation.
It's about listening to each other and weighing the different viewpoints.
And hopefully, through that conversation, we can find a way forward.
A way that allows us to explore the universe responsibly.
Yeah, that honors both our desire to explore and our responsibility to protect.
To protect life wherever we may find it.
Oh, you know what? You mentioned something earlier that I wanted to circle back to.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
That anecdote about the glowworms.
Oh, yes, the glowworms.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, there are these fascinating creatures that live in caves,
Okay.
and they have these bioluminescent organs that produce light.
And they use this light to lure their prey.
So it's like a trap.
It's a beautiful trap.
It's deadly.
But deadly, exactly.
And the way they do it is so clever.
They create these patterns of light that resemble a starry night sky.
Wow.
So unsuspecting insects fly towards the light, thinking it's the open sky.
And then, bam, they're caught.
Exactly. It's like this cosmic deception.
It's a little bit terrifying, but also kind of amazing.
Right. It just shows you how nature can be both beautiful and dangerous at the same time.
And it makes you wonder what other surprises or dangers might be lurking out there in space.
Exactly what else might appear benign at first glance, but hold hidden complexities.
Right. It's a reminder that we still know so little about the universe.
We're just scratching the surface.
So we've talked about a lot of really big ideas here.
We have.
Martian time, Martian law, planetary protection, the search for life, the ethics of colonization.
It's a lot to think about.
And it all comes back to this idea of responsibility.
Of being mindful of the consequences of our actions.
Of being good stewards of the universe.
Exactly.
And it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's a constant challenge.
But it's a challenge that we have to face.
If we want to be a truly spacefaring species.
A species that explores the cosmos with both curiosity and compassion.
Exactly.
You know, it's amazing to think about how close we are to a whole new era of exploration.
I know, it's really incredible.
An era where we could, completely change how we see humanity's place in the universe.
Yeah, like where do we fit in with everything else? It's a huge question.
And the choices we make now about Mars, about space exploration in general, they're going to shape the future for generations to come.
Absolutely. This isn't just about, scientific progress or like planting a flag on another planet.
Right. It goes way deeper than that.
It's about our future as a species.
And maybe even the future of life itself.
That's a big thought.
It is, isn't it? So as we go down this road to Mars,
yeah,
we have to ask ourselves.
Yeah, what kind of legacy do we want to leave? Like, do we want to be remembered as the species that just takes and conquers? Or the species that explores but also protects?
I like that explores and protects.
Me too. We have to approach this new frontier with a bit of humility.
Right, acknowledging that we're not the only ones out there.
And who knows, maybe the most important things we discover on Mars won't be about the rocks or the soil or even signs of ancient life.
Ooh, interesting.
What if the biggest discoveries are about ourselves?
What do you mean?
Well, maybe by going out into the cosmos, we start to understand just how precious and fragile our own planet is.
Wow.
And how interconnected all life really is.
That would be pretty amazing.
I think that's the real purpose of exploration, isn't it? Not to conquer, but to connect.
I like that, to connect.
To learn and to grow and to become, better caretakers of our own planet.
It's almost like by reaching for the stars,
Yeah.
we rediscover what it means to be human. So to everyone listening, keep asking those big questions. Keep challenging those assumptions. Keep exploring the universe with an open mind and an open heart.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll be one of the pioneers walking on Mars, looking up at a sky full of stars and wondering about these very same things.
That would be incredible. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Mars. Until next time, keep looking up and keep exploring.